darkest hour, you, along with every other loyal taxpayer, help build this nation. Thank you for every life you saved and for every risk you braved, for giving our future generation a healthy start. When you saw many of our vulnerable communities, you provided for them. When you saw our healthcare workers on the front lines battling COVID, you rose to the occasion and gave them the tools to save lives. Without your tax compliance, we wouldn't be able to fight a good fight. Thank you for contributing to the important services our vulnerable communities rely on every day. To all taxpayers and traders, continue to pay your tax because it matters to millions of South Africans who depend on it. Your tax matters.
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar on the South African Traveller Declaration System. My name is Amina Kamali, and I'd like to take this opportunity to thank you for joining us today. As you know, we are live, and a recording of this program will be available on the YouTube channel to view at your leisure. Today's program will provide you with insights on the implementation of the system that will be available to all travelers leaving and entering the Republic. The system benefits international travelers and government agencies by creating a seamless value chain as well as a risk management capability that supports both intrusive and non-intrusive enforcement interventions. We will also take you through the system and demonstrate the way in which the declaration should be completed. Please note that you will also have the opportunity to participate in today's session via the Q&A icon at the bottom of your screen. Please feel free to submit all your comments and questions during the session. We have a panel of experts that are on hand to answer your questions, either in the chat or during the question and answer session that has been scheduled for later in the program. You may also submit your questions via email to the mailbox travellerescalations@sars.gov.za. Please note that this mailbox will remain open for comments and questions after the webinar. Just a reminder that the chat group is an open platform, so please ensure that you refrain from disclosing any personal information whilst capturing your comments or questions. You will also be invited to participate in a short survey at the end of the session. At SARS, we pride ourselves in continuous improvement, and we value your input in enhancing our service to you. Therefore, your participation in the survey is highly encouraged and sought after. So with no further ado, I would like to introduce you to Mr. Mark Kingan, the Head of Stakeholder Engagement. Mr. Kingan has been with SARS for 37 years. He served as the acting commissioner for a period of 12 months. He has held roles in many divisions, such as legal interpretation, enforcement, business systems, and operational support. He has also served on the CATS Commission that was responsible for the nonprofit sector. And with that, it's over to you, Mr. Kingan.
Well, thank you very much, Amina, and it is very good to be with you this afternoon and to be able to share this time with you. I think we all are waiting in anticipation to understand more about the Traveller Declaration. And that just brings me to the issue of our strategic objectives that we have within SARS. And the first one is very important as we look at tonight, and that is one of clarity and providing absolute clarity with regards to a specific product in SARS. And I think you would all concur with me that a few weeks ago there wasn't that clarity, and therefore there was unneeded discussion in the public platform and obviously in social media, etc. So tonight we want to set the scene for the Traveller Declaration. We want to give you absolute clarity as people involved in the tourism sector. We also want to make this process as easy as possible for everybody who is involved in the process, whether it be inbound or outbound tourists, whether it be people involved as tour operators, airlines, in advising their clients and customers. We want to give you the tools to enable you to do what you need to do. So tonight is about the Traveller Declaration, which for many of you who travel internationally will know it's not new. But with that, I just want to also say that we are committed to working with and through our stakeholders in improving the tax system. The tax system can only be improved with collaboration. Now, whether it be in the tourism sector or the accounting or tax fraternity in the customs area, we are committed to work with you. So tonight is a starting step or first step towards this Traveller Declaration, and we want to enable full understanding of the Traveller Declaration as we go forward. As was indicated earlier, we remain available to provide the answers and clarity that is needed. And we hope over time to provide all the frequently asked question answers to you, that you can provide those answers to your clients, your visitors that are visiting the country or people departing the country, that there can be no misunderstanding of what needs to be declared. But with that, I'm going to hand back and say thank you for joining us tonight. We welcome you as SARS, and we look forward to the engagement tonight and the questions that will flow. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. King, for those insights and clarity on those very important matters. Next on our program is the keynote speaker, Mr. Beyers Theron, who is the Director of the Customs Border Control, Ports of Entry and Compliance Management. Mr. Theron's tenure at SARS began in 1983, and since then he has served in various significant roles, including the SARS Transformational Program, Operations, and Customs Modernization. He has played a leading role in establishing the Customs Data Exchange program, as well as the Regional Accreditation Program at SARS. Mr. Theron has also represented us at various international and regional working groups, such as the SARS Connect program. And with that, it's over to you, Mr. Theron.
Thank you, Program Director, and good evening to all. I have to tell you that when I prepared for this, it's a traveller card. Now, I thought we are going to talk to the tourism industry, so when I think about like travel, I think about holiday. So I dropped the tie, and now I don't look as handsome as Mr. Kingan. But hopefully I will just make peace with that, and hopefully the information that I share with you, you can forgive me for not wearing a tie tonight. So I'm going to go straight into what I want to say, and I wouldn't say this is a keynote address, but I think it's some form of opening remarks, or at least to set the scene for this webinar. And I will start off by saying that traveller cards or declarations have always carried a little bit of contention. Certainly for the traveller who must complete a declaration, whilst all that they want to do is just get through the controls and get to their destination. But it's also a pain sometimes to us as administrators, and mainly for the purpose that it serves. So if I look at the history, can we capture all of the data that's on the traveller card? Is it reactive? Can we apply risk? Or does it just kind of fizzle out to a lot of paper that gets chucked into a box and then we forget about it? Well, that more or less describes how our previous attempts to implement a traveller declaration kind of panned out. So customs legislation is very clear. that all travelers need to make a declaration upon entry or exit. And over the years, this has only been in paper format, as I just explained. There were periods where this was mandatory. I can think back to about in the last perhaps 5 to 10 years ago, we had to collect a lot of these traveler declarations at our ports of entry, and that led to claims that it was used for wrong practices, etc. But anyway, it was mandatory at the time. We dropped that, and then there were periods, of course, where it was only upon request, as is the case today. So for customs, the value in a declaration system lies in the ability to manage the risk on such declaration and then applying our resources to non-compliance rather than pestering or holding up the greater sum of travelers that are compliant in terms of all regulatory requirements. And this becomes easier when, number one, you have automation. Number two, when you get the declaration well in advance and electronically. Number three, when you can corroborate that data with third-party data. And number four, when you can apply a measure of risk management to it. And that in order to make it either easy for the compliant or hard for the non-compliant. So with the increase in global money laundering, terror financing, the incentive in smuggling small quantity but high-value illicit goods, the customs world, and for that matter, other border regulators as well, are increasingly demanding mandatory upfront traveler declarations, whether it is a declaration card as it is in Canada, or whether it's a passenger arrival card as is the case in New Zealand, a tourist card in Mexico, an incoming passenger card in Australia, a customs declaration form in Zimbabwe, or the CBP declaration form in the US. They all serve the same purpose, and they have all become mandatory over the past 5 to 10 years. And it's for the same reason that the South African Revenue Service, as part of the broader customs modernization smart border project, will be implementing the South African traveler management system at all South African ports of entry. And this is what our team will showcase today and what we would then engage on. So the first phase, implementation of the online declaration system planned for King Shaka International Airport on 29 November. The system will be implemented on a voluntary basis and then progressively implemented to all ports of entry by 2024. SARS, in leveraging of data and technology, seek to create a seamless experience for legitimate trade and travelers at our ports of entry, while enhancing our detection capabilities to respond to any risk. SARS also values stakeholder engagement as an opportunity in creating a seamless border experience for all legitimate travelers in and out of South Africa. And on that note, we encourage travelers to use the system so that we can learn on the one hand what to improve as SARS, but also for the traveler to proactively get ready for a future mandatory state where we will go live. The system, when fully implemented, will also include online payment, a green lane or fast track trusted program for travelers, and collaboration with stakeholders such as airline and travel agencies to have access to additional sources of passenger data in order to enhance our risk profiling, but also to use those key stakeholders as partners in providing clarity and certainty to travelers. Stakeholders are also encouraged to participate on published rules to the Customs Act incorporated in the online declaration system. SARS values your partnership as our critical stakeholders, and therefore, in closing, my request to all is that we collectively ensure the success of the pilot and prepare for a seamless full implementation. I hope you enjoy the engagement today. And on that note, Program Director, thank you very much, and back to you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Theron. It is clear from what you said that the shift to a more streamlined and user-friendly approach will add value to both travelers and to SARS. It definitely sets the tone for future enhancement models. Once again, I'd like to remind the viewers to submit your questions and comments to the Q&A link. These questions will form the basis of what will be discussed during the discussion session. I would like to call upon Mr. Cassius Sintamule to take us through a very detailed overview of the system, as well as a walkthrough. Just some background information on Mr. Sintamule. He is the head of the air modality at Customs. He has over 25 years of experience in the land, sea, and air modalities. He has served in a variety of leadership roles in border control, risk management, and service-related functions. He has represented SARS at domestic as well as international customs programs. And in addition to that, he also has a variety of academic achievements in his portfolio. Thank you, Mr. Sintamule.
Thanks, Program Director, and to the public and private delegation, my fellow SARS colleagues. Greetings and good evening to all of you. I've got a very simple task, but a very important one. That is to take you through my presentation in building trust to this process, and more importantly, also ensuring that we are all looking forward to viewing this beyond the current limitations. Just opening my presentation. I hope you can all be able to see my presentation. Maybe just to give a perspective to my presentation, ladies and gentlemen, the SARS desired outcome from the webinar include the following: that there is public and private stakeholder, and we are confident that the implementation of this system is a journey that we can embark on as a team. And further to that as well, we are in this together through learnings, experience, and also opportunity. SARS, as part of our value proposition, value the importance of serving a high purpose, as outlined in terms of our strategic intent. And to provide a perspective in terms of our approach as an organization, firstly, the enterprise-wide business approach for both tax and customs in terms of service, facilitation, and compliance imperatives. We acknowledge the socio-economic responsibility, with that to demonstrate commitment to government and public by creating a very enabling environment. And in doing so, we are leveling a playing field. We are acknowledging the opportunities that comes with globalization, wherein each and everyone is taking opportunities. And it remains our responsibility as SARS to be able to create that enabling environment. The new entrants to the market, including small, medium enterprises, we do acknowledge that through our effort as an organization that present such opportunities in this regard as part of building a capable state. The broader perspective in terms of the tourism industry and its contribution towards employment and other critical aspects. Both my principals, they've already outlined the importance of always acknowledging our Vision 2024 in terms of the direction that we actually take as an organization. One, more importantly, in providing clarity and certainty to yourself as our critical stakeholders, and more importantly, also outlining your obligation in this regard. And also making it easy and simple for yourself to also comply, because our approach as an organization is that we strive towards voluntary compliance. There's another aspect that can never be a deferred responsibility in our approach, ensuring that we are also able to create capability wherein we're able to detect taxpayers and traders who don't comply, and also make it hard for them to comply. The Director of Customs spoke about the issue of creating capability in terms of risk management so that we are able to improve our risk profiling perspective. And of course, what becomes important, which is part of this forum, working with and through stakeholders to improve the tax ecosystem. And that is our commitment as an organization. Now, getting to this system, It is a web-based application that will enable travelers entering and leaving the country to pre-declare goods purchased, received, or acquired, and also pay applicable taxes where applicable. Through this approach, the system will make it easy and simple for travelers to be able to comply with their legal obligation. Customs from whole of government approach in terms of strengthening our controls and deterrence through illicit activities, through detection and deterrence of illicit activities, obviously also acknowledging the fact that as part of the global community, the issue of impact of illicit financial flows, creation of a seamless process at ports of entry through application of risk management, and also providing clarity to build a culture of voluntary compliance. The system will create an enabling environment in moving away from the current manual process with undesirable impact from a cost of doing business and security of traveler data. As you know that as part of the global community, we do also go through trade measures, which also include from a while back in terms of ease of doing business. So the bottlenecks that we create in terms of not enabling an environment wherein travelers and traders can easily, seamlessly move through our ports of entries. By itself, it becomes a deterrence to supply chain management as well. Furthermore, the support to socioeconomic activities, including the tourism sector, that according to the Tourism 2020 survey, there was a contribution of over 274 to 273 million injection, obviously with the contribution towards employment. So our vision as an organization in implementing this system is to implement a smart, modern, and risk-based traveler management system that promotes South Africa's socio-economic and create a seamless process to facilitate legitimate trade at ports of entry. The underlying facts to this is smart border, risk-based traveler management, which acknowledge the risk management approach, the economic contribution as well, and also creation of a seamless process. With that, if we are then able to achieve that, it then assists us to be able to ensure that whatever expectation from yourself as our stakeholders, we are not creating any impediment to you in conducting business or even through your own leisure time if you have to travel through foreign or international environment. What do we understand about the environment that we operate in? Because as an organization, we always believe that we serve a greater purpose. And more importantly, in doing so, it always remains important not only to look from inside or inward. We do also have to zoom out and say, to what extent are we meeting the expectations of those that we serve? And in terms of the economic activities, the percentage growth of traveler entering and leaving the country pre-COVID period is currently being demonstrated through our ports of entries, including within the airport environment. The contribution of tourism sector towards socioeconomic activities, including employment, remain one critical aspect that we always have to take note of in our business decisions. The business opportunities from small, medium enterprises as well, as I indicated in terms of the new entrances to the market. Within the customs environment, we have a legislative requirement for travelers entering and leaving the Republic to declare goods. It's a responsibility that can never be deferred. And through this process, we're actually enabling or ensuring that we create a seamless process that doesn't make it difficult for those that go through our ports of entries not to comply with that. The illicit economy activities providing unfair competitive advantage to established and compliance businesses. The manifest of organized crime syndicates operatives at our ports of entries. And hence we actually acknowledge the importance of coordinated border operations wherein we are able to detect such illicit activities. The negative impact of manual process to creating a seamless process from a time and cost perspective. International environment, we do reflect on how we do business, also reflecting on those that are also operating within our space. As you know that we are also signatories to different WCO instruments, as we are also a member, and also from a WTO perspective in terms of trade facilitation agreements as well. So what remains important in this regard is from the benchmarking that we've already done, countries such as US, New Zealand, Australia, amongst others, are amongst those that have already implemented an online declaration system. From a WCO perspective, leveraging on advanced passenger information and passenger name records for risk assessment as well. From a partnership perspective, which is a very critical aspect also as part of the entire value chain. Public and private partnership required for the success of this initiative. Your experiences becomes very critical to assist us as part of continuous improvement. Your challenges becomes very much important. Your exposure within the environment that you all operate in, it can further also assist us whilst we finalize this system to be able to implement a state-of-the-art system that don't only respond to the expectation from a customs perspective or government perspective, but equally acknowledges the importance of serving the purpose of meeting the expectation of the private sector in this instance as well. Such investment on education awareness and provide clarity to encourage voluntary compliance. And obviously from a whole of government approach on facilitation and compliance imperatives. What does the new system suggest? The South African Traveller Management System, which is the online declaration, the director has already spoken that it will be implemented at Kinshasa International Airport on the 29th of November 2022. Travelers will still be allowed in South Africa without electronic online declaration. Mr. Kingon has also outlined, as the head of our stakeholder relations, that we came also with learnings in terms of some of the public perceptions in this regard. And there was a view that suggested that on implementation of this system, if you haven't passed a declaration, you may not be allowed to enter South Africa. So this becomes an assurance to all of you that even if you haven't passed through a declaration, you'll still be allowed to come through. But as you have noted also through the media release from SARS, wherein our commissioner has also made an emphasis that it creates an inconvenience if you wouldn't have actually taken advantage of ensuring that you declare prior or pre-arrival. The electronic online declaration will be able to available for completion pre-arrival and pre-departure on voluntary basis. The online declaration will serve as a declaration, meaning no other declaration form to be completed on arrival or departure at the airport. And I think this talks to the next point, wherein, as you know, that we do also have a manual declaration. So what it basically means is if you have actually passed through an online declaration, there wouldn't be any need for you to pass a manual TC014 form. SARS to make available customs officers at Kinshasa in this instance to provide service to those that may have not managed to declare pre-arrival. Public-private stakeholder engagement prior implementation, which is the process that we've already embarked on. Just for noting as well, we already met also with tourism department on the 26th of October also, and also on the 4th of November, wherein most of the people that are in this platform were also hosted in that forum that was arranged also by the DG tourism in this instance. That's a clear demonstration of the fact that we're in this together. SARS to adopt a trusted trader philosophy to encourage voluntary compliance. Obviously, the application of risk management to facilitate legitimate trade and strengthen our detection capability. A whole of government approach to ensure coordination across the border enforcement activities. What are the envisaged benefits with implementation of an online declaration? One of the very fundamental one is convenience. The online declaration will be able to provide an online platform application wherein, at your convenience, ladies and gentlemen, you're in a better position to declare pre-arrival or departure in this instant. From an operational efficiency perspective, time and cost remain very critical to all of us. So obviously, our intention is to create a swift and seamless passage at the airports. The reason why we are saying at the airports in this instant is simply from the perspective that our initial implementation plan will be within the airport environment. But obviously, from a broader perspective, is to ensure that at all our ports of entries, land, sea, and air modality space, we should be able to appreciate and ensure that all our travelers enjoy the very same benefits in this regard. We do take note as well that there are different stakeholders in each and every one of those areas, within the sea space, within the airport space, and also within the land space. The risk mitigation in terms of strengthening our customs control and ensuring that there is coordinated cross-border enforcement activities. With data, there's much that we can do. And from that perspective, traveler data will be able to be secured in this instant. And partnership is one of the aspects that becomes important, because indeed, it's only through partnership that the improvements that we envisage or the change that we envisage, we can be able to achieve that. I'll keep on saying, ladies and gentlemen, we're in this together through learnings, experience, and leverage on opportunities as well, making it easy and simple for travelers to comply with the legal obligations. So what is required to submit an online declaration? Travelers will need the following for declaration on the online system. Will require your passport details, the traveler details, contact details, traveler companion passport number, entity business details when traveling on a business trip, and also goods, including currency, when entering or leaving the country. Now, it's important that we take you through how to navigate the online declaration. And on that note, I've got my sister, my colleague, Christina, whom I'm going to hand over to, and she'll gladly take you through how to navigate the system. Over to you, my sister. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sintumule. I will now take you through the online travel declaration system that the travelers will have to complete. This system can be accessed through the SARS Mobi app. So there is an icon on the SARS Mobi app that says Traveler Declaration. When you click on that icon, the form will come up where you can capture your details as a traveler. Alternatively, you can also capture on your desktop on all the different browsers that you might have. You have to capture your passport number and select the passport country. I'll select South Africa. First name. Then you enter your surname. You enter your address, unit number, if you have a unit number, and the complex name. You'll enter your street name. Your occupation. If you don't feel like sharing that information, it's still okay to leave it blank. Then you enter the suburb. You enter the city and the postal code. Then you have to enter the mobile number where you will get the SMS confirming that your declaration was submitted and directing you to the correct channel when you get to the country. And you also enter your email address. Right. Once all your traveler details are completed, then you can move on to the next screen where you capture your travel details. Now, under the travel details, you can indicate if you are traveling in your personal capacity or if you are traveling on behalf of an entity. If you are traveling on behalf of an entity, then you have to capture the entity details, which is the entity name, the address, and the entity instructions. If you are traveling in your personal capacity, then you will indicate just your details. So here I will say the reason for travel is leisure. Another option is business if you are traveling on behalf of an entity. Then you have to capture your flight number. Indicate where you are traveling from. I will say Argentina and traveling to South Africa. Traveling date, you have to indicate when you are traveling. I will say the 18th of November 2022. Now, if you are traveling with your family, this is where you can enter their details as well. But all you need to enter is the passport country and the passport number. So here you'll select the passport country and the passport number of the companion that you're traveling with. It could be your wife. And if you are traveling with your other 2 kids, then you will do so for them. Okay. Right, then once you are done capturing the travel details and traveling companion details, then you can move on to the next screen where you capture the currency details. Now here you indicate the financial instruments that you would be having. It could be cash. Then you indicate the amount that you have. I would say 2,000, and the currency is in US dollars. And the source, I would say it's a loan. Now what the system does, it converts that 2,000 US dollars into South African rands. It will be using the current rate of exchange. So it will show that total. And it will also indicate how much you have in excess. Then you go next. Once you're done, you can capture more. If you also have a check with you, then you can say, I have a check of 250 Hong Kong dollar. And the source is salary, for instance. Then it does that calculation. It adds all that amount into the total amount and it gives you the excess. Then when you go to the next screen, this is where you indicate if you have any of prohibited or restricted goods in your possession, any goods intended for trade, any valuable goods that you need to register for temporary importation, any goods in excess of duty-free allowance. If you have any of these, then you will indicate yes or no. And on our traveler declaration page, there will be a list of these goods that are on here so that the traveler can know what is regarded as prohibited or restricted goods. Then at the end, you need to declare that the information provided is true and correct. Then you will say, yes, it is true and correct. You click next. It takes you to the captcha. If the captcha is not clear, you can click on this button here. Then you'll get a new captcha that is a bit more visible for you. Or you can also click the audio button so it can be read out for you. Now I will capture the captcha. Okay, then when you click submit, if you didn't capture it correctly, of course, you will get an error message. So I will change this so it's more visible. NYMQ1. Okay, then you will get an on-screen message that says your traveler declaration has been successfully submitted. It will also say additional correspondence in this regard will be sent to your mobile number. Now you will get an SMS if you put the valid mobile number. And if you also put the valid email, you will get an email that will direct you to the channel that you have to go to. So it will say, thank you for submitting your traveler declaration for passport number on particular flight number on this particular travel date. Upon reaching South African customs, please proceed via the green channel. Sincerely, South African Revenue Service. So this is how quick and easy it will be to capture your declaration on the online system. Over to you, Mr. Sintumule.
Yeah, thanks so much, my sister. Ladies and gentlemen, you would have noted that through the process that we've taken you through, the system indeed, it is actually simple for you to complete. And obviously our intention as an organization is to continue to make it simple for you to be able to comply with your obligations. And to sum up this presentation, ladies and gentlemen, we also have a video that will then provide the step-by-step process in terms of what needs to be done as well. Thank you.
Planning to travel into or out of South Africa by air? Use the new traveler declaration system to declare goods, currency, and others before you travel. It's simple. Just follow these 5 easy steps. Visit the Traveler Declaration page at www.sars.gov.za/Traveler Declaration and click the Complete Your Declaration tab. Remember to complete all items marked with an asterisk. Depending on whether you are traveling in your personal capacity or for business, choose the relevant option in the drop-down menu under Traveler Type and complete the traveler details. Next, complete details about any goods you will carry with you during your trip, including currency. In the next field, provide details of the possessions you will carry on your trip. Finally, submit your declaration. You will then receive further correspondence via the email address or mobile number you provided, which will indicate where you should go once at the airport. Note that anyone else accompanying you on this trip will also need to declare. Travelers are entitled to prescribed duty-free allowances. Safe travels!
Yeah. Part of this process also include change management and communication strategy. So as part of our outreach to all the critical stakeholders in this regard, we have also designed a dedicated traveler declaration webpage, which will then make it easy for everyone as and when you require more information about this system. And in terms of accessing the system, there are 2 processes. You would have noted during the video, we have outlined the www.sars.gov.za. So through that approach, you will then also go to Customs and Excise, go under Traveler. When you're under Traveler, you will then be able to get the email address that is outlined under point number 1, which is the intent URL will be www.sars.gov.za/traveler declaration. But then there's also another process, which is the most simpler one, wherein you just enter this very same email address. And through that, you should be in position to have access to this web page. And on the web page, you will then be able to get a link. If you looking at the far left, just on the bottom of the screen, there's where it says complete your declaration link to SARS online query declaration system. On implementation of this system, that's where you're going to get a link that will enable you to be able to pass your declaration online. The second issue is that we are also acknowledging the fact that through this current engagement, there will still be continued engagement, as Mr. Kingon has also indicated. So we have then created a dedicated email address, traveler-escalations@sars.gov.za, which will then enable everyone either on queries, suggestions, or even escalations to communicate with SARS, and we should be in a position to provide the necessary support. The beauty part with this process is that we have also created a dedicated team that will continuously be entertaining or dealing with all the queries that we should be expecting or receiving in this instant. By the way, we do also accept compliments. We don't only want queries and escalations. It shouldn't be a problem just to throw in a compliment if in some instance you had a good experience as well. Point number 3, on change management, we also acknowledge that as part of the entire systematic approach to this implementation approach, it will be very irresponsible for us not to consider our staff members. And we do also have a program wherein we are also taking them through the change management process, which then also include training. So this will then enable, for those that may have not managed to declare pre-arrival, that through our resources that we have deployed, you should then be able to utilize those resources. They will be able to assist you if you decide that you want to utilize your own device and you don't know how to navigate. They should be able to assist you. But over and above that as well, they have also been empowered with tools of trade, tablets that in this instance, they will also be utilizing to assist you in terms of declaring. And in Kinshasa, in this instant, there will also be designated areas where those specific touch points in providing service will be available. We do also have frequently asked questions that will then also serve in assisting as part of this process. We managed to take a bite on some of the questions that already were submitted to us, and maybe proactively that we can be able to share some of our responses to that. With regards to the online declaration system, there is no system application or registration required in terms of the current state. The director spoke about the fact that once the system is fully implemented, meaning that we are still in a journey towards that goal. So as I indicated, there's an access to the system, and it can be available through the internet application. The Wi-Fi will be available at ports of entry, in this instance Kinshasa, for ease of access. SARS, through your passport, can assist to retrieve your declaration if unavailable on arrival. There was a question that was asked to say, if I leave a foreign country and I wouldn't have received an email which would have confirmed that my declaration was successfully submitted and been provided guidance as to how to go through the process. So we are then saying through our mechanism that has been built into the system, we are in a position to be able to assist you when you arrive at our ports of entry. There was also a question around the security of one's information. And for those that are already utilizing some of our platforms or digital platforms, you will agree with me that we do also have data security governance that are also aligned with the international standards, and also the cybersecurity in this instance as well. From a process perspective, the online system does not impact on your VAT refund claims and prescribed duty-free allowances. So you are still entitled for that. The only thing that the online declaration, ladies and gentlemen, is positioning here is more around simplified process. Simplified process. From a manual to an automation. Whatever you're entitled for from a duty-free allowance as prescribed in terms of our rebates, you are still entitled for that. And also the VAT refund processes will still unfold as it is. We do also observe diplomat and diplomatic representative. They will still be catered for in line with the rebate 406 of our controls. From a service perspective, there will be designated areas to assist travelers with both online and manual declaration. And I was looking at the chart, there was someone who also asked the similar question to say, if I wouldn't have managed to declare online, what will then happen and how will I be in position to get the forms, the manual forms on arrival? So just to clarify on that point, you will be able to get both online declaration on an opportunity if you opt to go that route, or also the manual declaration will also be catered for. SARS query and escalation email address with dedicated resources will also be made available. Our implementation plan, the director has already spoken about it. It is also going to be a progressive implementation to all ports of entries by 2024. Obviously, we'll take you into our confidence to go through stakeholder engagements, through learnings, and through that we're in a better position to also make a reflection as to how do we move forward. Public-private stakeholder engagements to ensue as part of the implementation roadmap. In conclusion, as part of this journey, SARS acknowledges that the success of this initiative can be achieved working with and through stakeholders. Platforms to be created for feedback as part of continuous improvement, for learning experience and opportunities, and that will run it through Mr. Kingon's portfolio so that we are able to have coordinated approach in ensuring that we structure ourselves and ensure that we are able to leverage on the feedback from the respective stakeholders. The broader communication strategy, including through SARS website, to be expedited for travelers' education and awareness. These also include the frequently asked questions. As you know, we have different digital platforms. We do continuously encourage you to continue utilizing those platforms. You will have noted as well, the traveler escalations at sars.gov.za, it forms part of those digital platforms that will be and is also available to be utilized in this instant. On that note, Program Director, thanks, back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Sintumule and Ms. Moletsane for that information and the demonstration. As you can see, it is a simple, easy to use system, and most of all, it's time efficient. And it's just easier for the travelers to remain compliant with minimal effort. Once again, thank you to the presenters. For those of you that missed the email address, please note that it is travelerdeclarations@sars.gov.za. This has been posted on the chat group for easy reference. It's also very pleasing to see that the question and answer, the Q&A chat group is very active. And I want to encourage the viewers to keep those questions and comments coming, good and bad. And we will then move on to the next session where some of those questions would be addressed by Mr. Gumani Mugeri, the Senior Manager at the SARS Institute of Learning, and his team of esteemed panelists. Thank you so much, and over to you, Mr. Mugeri.
Thank you very much, Program Director, and thank you very much to the speakers of today, Mr. Kesha Sintumule, as well as Agnes, who took us through the demo. We have received quite a number of questions. Some of them we've already replied to them on the charts, but nonetheless, I am joined here by a panel of experts who will respond to some of the questions for those who are not able to see the charts. And I will introduce them. As I introduce them, they will also be coming forth to the screen. We are joined by Mandla Ngushe, who is responsible for project management. Joining us as well is Paul Lowe. Paul Lowe is a manager at OR Tambo International Airport. We are also joined by Carla Da Silva from our strategic engagements. Agnes Mulezane, she has just done the demo for you on the system. We are also honored to have in our presence Mark Kingon, as well as Bayes Theron. You have already seen them earlier in the opening of the discussions. Thank you very much. And without much ado, we appreciate some of the remarks. I have noted some from Sarah Bruce from BASA, who says she needs the recording if possible. And I can assure you that the recording will be available on the SARS TV, as well as the presentation will be posted online. We have seen remarks from people like Eric September, who is a lecturer in tourism and hospitality, who wishes to collaborate more with SARS on education development for the learners. And we encourage Eric to send an email through to the travel escalations so that our taxpayer and trader people can get in touch with you and work out a partnership for education and development. The first question we have from Sarah is about the system. She says, if the online system is down, is there a provision for manual declaration? How and where can we go about that declaration? I will allow Mandla to take care of the question.
Thank you, Kumani. In terms of systems being available, yes, the backup process would be the manual declaration. Be followed in processing that declaration. Thank you. I hope I have covered that question.
Okay, thank you very much, Mandla. You were not very audible, but however, what Mandla is saying that there is a manual fallback for the manual declaration in case the system is offline. We will amplify more on that as we proceed with the engagements. There is a question that is coming from Otto. Otto is saying, do I use one declaration for the entire family or not? While Bayes will respond to that question, he will also take an opportunity to respond to make emphasis on the earlier question that we've posed for the online system if it is down. Mr. Theron.
Thanks, Gumani. Yeah, I wanted to add to what was said by Manda. In general, the way that SARS builds its system is that you can actually operate on the front end even if our systems are down. And it then uploads when the system goes on. So that should not necessarily be a problem if you choose to use the online channel. If you do it well in advance and you still can't do it while you're sitting maybe in Heathrow Airport, you can always, when you arrive in South Africa, still have a second bite at the cherry and complete your form online. So that's the first thing that I wanted to say. Your second question, which I really didn't raise my hand for, but I will answer it for you, is that in terms of legislation, you can actually pull the allowances for a family. And therefore, you can actually submit your declaration and add all of the members of your family to that declaration and get the benefit of your duty-free allowances, etc. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Mr. Theron. Mr. Kingon, there is a statement or a question from Candice. Candice Mercado is saying, much of the information we want on the traveler declaration is already populated and available with the airlines. What is SARS thinking with regards to integration of data with the stakeholders?
Well, and I think Mr. Tron would be far better placed to address that, because that has been raised in our previous engagements about integration into the broader airline data. And this is the start of the journey. And I think that's the important thing we need to emphasize tonight, Bayers, is this is a start. And as we can go forward and pull in that data, we can make it easier and easier for people in the submission of this. So our intent is, yes, to integrate. At this point in time, given where we are, that is not possible. But the declaration, as you've already seen by the presentation that was done earlier, is very simple. And it's not complex to get through. I don't know if Bayers would like to add to that.
Yeah, thanks, Mark and Gumani. Actually, I saw a question that was also raised: is why don't we just get all the information from the airline instead of forcing people to make a declaration? But the legal obligation is on the traveler. It's the same with trade. We can get all the data pieces out of the supply chain. But someone needs to make a declaration which becomes a legal obligation. So it's quite important for us. And I actually said it in my address in the beginning. One of the things that's important for us to make the experience seamless is to actually take third-party data like advanced passenger information and like passenger name record, which comes from the airlines, and corroborate the data that was submitted by the declarant. So absolutely, or it's absolutely important to integrate with any piece of information that we can get out of the traveler supply chain, if I can put it that way. Equally, it is important as we go forward that we integrate with other government agencies, so it's not only a seamless experience from a customs perspective, but right through all of the regulatory environment when it comes to travelers. Thanks, Gumani.
Thank you very much. And the other question that is coming from Jennifer, and I will ask Agnes to handle the question. Jennifer is asking, do children need to complete this as well, or will they be covered under the companion section and the primary adult traveler?
Thanks, Gumani. The adult will mention the kids under the companions, and they are more than welcome to capture a declaration for the kids, but it's not compulsory. It is voluntary, but so the parent can add them under the companions. Thank you.
Thank you very much. One question that is coming, I think is a statement from Anonymous. Anonymous is saying, in fact, it's Anonymous and Michelle. They are saying, please include the reason portion in one of the blocks to include sports, because there is a lot of international athletes that come into the country for games and competitions. And another one is saying maybe we should also add for spectators and fans. So I guess those are some of the things that the organization will be looking into as we grow and mature this process. But then the interesting question here is, that is coming from one of the participants, is what is the SARS timeline in as far as rolling this out to the rest of the ports? Mandla, you can provide a bit of clarity there in terms of program management.
Thank you, Gumani. I hope I'm audible this time.
100%.
Brilliant. So I think Cassius, in his presentation, he touched on the plan, the rollout plan. So our vision is to pilot at King Shaka, and obviously, as he indicated, the whole purpose is for us to learn and also get inputs in terms of making the system better, making the system serve everybody, all the stakeholders that are impacted by the system. And we hope to start the rollout in 2023. And within that vision, we hope that by 2024, we shall have covered all the ports, including land and sea modalities. Thank you, Commander.
Thank you very much. One other question, Paul, a trader here is saying, how long before arrival and before departure do I need to complete the traveler declaration form? Is there a timeline before departure and arrival? If you can clarify the trader with that regard.
Generally, on international flights, passengers need to be at the airport at least 4 hours prior to departure. So they've got sufficient time to complete the online declaration from the comfort of their house, their home. Alternatively, when they do get to the international port, they'll also have an opportunity to complete the form with assistance of the customs officers. But it's important that they are at international airports at least a minimum of 4 hours prior to departure.
Thank you very much. So you are saying, all right, so you're saying it's advisable that they work on it hours before the departure time of the plane so that it synchronizes with the rest of the other declarations that they have to do and the checking that have to do with the airline operators.
Yes, that's correct.
All right. And another question that is coming from Anneli. So Anneli is asking whether will the Department of Home Affairs system have influence on the verification of South African ID numbers, passports, SARS traveler system. And she says currently on CIPC and the DHA system is causing blockage when down. I will allow Mr. Thiron to make reflections on that question and just give a bit of clarity in terms of the synchronization with the DHA profiles.
Okay, so at this particular point in time, there isn't any influence from the DHA system on the traveler management system. But what we do is that we do integrate in the back end with third-party data, which may include DHA data. That does not become a showstopper in terms of what happens in the front end. So I'll kind of put that on the table for now. Then I wanted to add to what Paul said. Actually, the most important guidance is that as soon as you have all your data, that's the best time to lodge your declaration. Thanks.
Okay. Thank you very much. I think we're making good progress. Most of the questions have already been dealt with. But if I can ask Carla, based on some of the responses that we have made on the charts and the responses given, is there other points of emphasis that you would like to make before we proceed with the rest of the remainder of the questions?
I think the important thing and the reason why we're having the webinar is to get travelers to try out the system, to participate, to give us feedback. Even today, I mean, we're already receiving feedback in terms of adding sports, for example, as a reason for travel. So we would like to get that kind of feedback so that the pilot is successful, and that ultimately when we roll out something that is useful and easy to use by all travelers who need to travel.
All right, thank you very much. And for the common traveler, I saw a question here that is asking about the limitations of cash that travelers can have in their possession. For people at the airports, I think, Paul, you'll assist the traveler there in terms of the cash that they can have in their possession when they come in and out of the country.
In terms of the excess currency policy, a traveler is allowed to carry 25,000 South African rand before declaring, upon exit and upon entry. Where a traveler, for example, has 50,000 or 100,000 rand cash in his possession, that traveler needs to make a declaration to customs at international departures. Now, coming to foreign currency, it's also important if a traveler has a substantial amount of foreign currency that he then approaches customs and presents the foreign exchange control declaration, which he would have done at a commercial bank with the Forex. And customs will then check and determine if the money was indeed exchanged, because the banks will then give you a stamped form with a bank impression on the form to confirm that this was exchanged at a legitimate Forex. It will indicate the name and the details. And the passenger will also indicate to customs the purpose of taking the money abroad. Because you often find at your ports, the security agencies will also stop a passenger if they find currency in his possession. So the passenger will then present a declaration to the security officials to indicate, I have declared my money to customs, and then they would be allowed to proceed. The same applies when a passenger enters South Africa. If they have money exceeding 25,000, they also need to enter, go to customs, indicate, I have X amount of currency. And it's important that they provide or indicate where the source of the funds are from. That is important that indicate. It's either money I took out, or it's earnings or winnings, or whatever the case might be. And then customs will then capture that on our passenger process system and give the passenger a form declaration, and it may then proceed and enter the country. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. We appreciate all the questions that are coming through the chats. And we also encourage that if your question is not fully answered to your satisfaction, you can send an email to traveler-escalations@sars.gov.za. I'm trying to check here if there are 2 or so additional questions that we may need to deal with. I'll ask my colleagues if they are picking some of the questions that we may not have addressed to actually take the floor and address some of the issues.
Thanks, Kumani. I just saw a message pop up on the New Zealand traveller card only being implemented or in 2023. Can I just, I didn't see the name of that individual, but you can go to the New Zealand website and you will find that under declarations, when you Google traveller declarations for New Zealand customs, you will read a paragraph. This passenger or the passenger arrival card must be completed before you get to passport control. So you've got to be careful when you read the website, because there is a declaration form which they had in place for COVID, which has actually been taken away, but the passenger arrival card is still in place. Thanks.
Okay, Mandla, are there some point of emphasis you would wish to make around the program itself, the implementation plans? I see Mandla is getting refreshed. I was checking, Mandla, if there is further points of emphasis you would like to make around program management. But maybe while Mandla gets ready, I will give Mr. King on the floor to make additional reflections and address some of the questions.
Yes, thank you very much. And, you know, there's a number of questions where proposals are being made, such as WhatsApp, and various issues, how we can use other technology. We'll take those under consideration, and just be aware of that. We will consider any proposals that come, even after tonight. Please continue to provide input. We do not claim to know every aspect that would be beneficial to the customers or tourists entering and leaving our country, and we would really appreciate that. With regards to the question that certain questions were provided in advance and we haven't necessarily dealt with them tonight, that is so, given the time, and there are many aspects to cover, but we will be ensuring that all the FAQs are dealt with and put on our website for everybody to access. So it's just important to note that. I think that's it for now, but just also to note, there's obviously currency is one thing. When a tourist comes into our country and there's a question, why do you need to declare other things? There are limitations, for instance, on whiskey and such items, that one must remember that there are limitations to 1 liter or so many cigarettes or so many cigars or so much perfume. And it's important that those items also be declared, because there are duties that are payable on those goods coming into the country. Our dream is ultimately that we would integrate this fully with the payment process, but that's a journey in the future. We really want to make this process seamless as possible for everybody entering our country. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Carla, you wanted to make reflections as well.
Thanks, Kumani. I saw a question regarding the security of the information provided by the travelers. And I just wanted to reiterate what Mr. Sintumule mentioned in his presentation, that we follow ISO standards and strict IT security standards, international standards. We have multiple systems that SARS uses, e-filing, which taxpayers will know very well, and other systems that the organization is using. So I think I'd like to say that confidently that the information is treated securely and with confidentiality.
Thank you very much. There's a question from Anita, which I have missed. She's asking or checking with us if the form makes provision for long character names and surnames, because people need to declare properly and appropriately. I'm not sure who's able to respond as to how many characters can the system take for the name and surname. I hope, Manja, you can reflect, or Mr. Theron, if you can just reflect on that.
Yes, okay, I'll reflect on that, and afterwards I will invite my colleague Christina maybe to add. When we say long characters, how long is a piece of string? We have provided for long characters that we are using as a standard length in most of our systems. So maybe if the person who asked the question can be more specific, it's the same spec we use in all the other systems at SARS, and we adopted that approach that we should provide for the possible long names that we have provided for in other systems. I don't know if my colleague, I would like to invite Christina maybe to comment in terms of the actual field length that we're using at the moment. I don't know if she has that information. Thank you, Christina.
Yes, thanks, Mr. Gugushe. Now for the first name and last name, you can go as long as 50 characters. So that should be sufficient for long names. But if you do try and you have a name that has 100 characters, you can send an email so that we can revisit the field names that are on the system. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Kingon.
Yes, thank you. And I'm just looking at the questions, Gamani, just with regards to some of the things posed. The issue of VAT refunds on departure, and which tourists leaving the country can claim, for instance, they purchase jewelry locally. No, currently it will not provide for that. I think directionally we need to challenge Mr. Tron and his team to provide that, because it would make sense that everything be integrated. But that is quite a big step, and you need to be aware of it. With regards to foreign exchange issued by your bank, in terms of your annual allowance, which is currently 1 million rand, the single discretionary allowance that is allowed, yes, you will need to declare that. It's very important that people note that. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Theron.
Yeah, no, I hear what Mr. Keegan said. Are you now the one who's actually asking the questions, or are you responding? I'm a little bit unsure here. But nevertheless, I think it is quite important that that there's a comprehensive solution that actually takes everything into account, and it is certainly on the cards. We're not going to commit to a date right now, but there is a phase 2 of this project, which actually starts as soon as we kind of stabilize the pilot. And I think there was a question earlier about the duration of the pilot. So ultimately, I'm the guy who's accountable. For me, it's very simple. We don't move to step 2 until we've stabilized step 1. So I think that we can do this relatively quickly. I think that the tools that we're providing in this project is really smart. It's easy to use. It's very simple. And my gut feel is that you will find very few people eventually that would not be able to access through a smartphone, or eventually when we implement kiosks at the airport, that would be able to actually lodge the declaration online. There's quite a few questions that came out about the app. So right now in this phase, Manlan, you'll keep me honest, we are not implementing the version on the app. If I think one of the last slides that was given by Cassius has got the link on it. So we're going to, in the first phase or in the pilot phase, experiment with the link. But for those who do not know about the SARS Mobi app, it would be good for you to actually go and look up the SARS Mobi app, go and download it now, because eventually this will be on the SARS Mobi app. And if you can't lodge your declaration now, you can do your tax through it in the meantime.
All right. As we work towards wrapping up, if your question is not fully answered, you are invited to take advantage of our existing stakeholder engagement platforms. You can send an email through to the email that we've provided, so that we can respond direct to you or schedule a one-on-one engagement. However, I will open this opportunity for closing remarks with regards to the matters on the Q&A to Mr. Kingon.
Thank you very much. And there are a number of unanswered questions that are on the Q&A. And for example, when are we rolling out to other ports of entry, such as the land border when we leave by vehicle? And obviously this is a pilot. And as we pilot at King Shaka, which is aircraft leaving our country and coming in, the next step would be to see how that works, get all the bugs out the process, make sure it's working efficiently, and then to go to the other ports. We will come back to you. We will engage with you with regards to the journey ahead. Very importantly, though, I do want to emphasize, many of you belong to representative bodies. We remain available to engage directly with the representative bodies, and I would encourage you to communicate with them and provide information to them and questions you may have to them that as an organization they would like to clarify. The last thing we want this to do is to slow down the traffic at the border posts. That's not the intent in the least. In fact, we want to make it easier. The other thing, we want people to understand it is a very simple process, and it's not being utilized in any malicious way other than to ensure that people are abiding by the laws of the country with regards to exit and incoming bound traffic. So with that, I want to thank, and I don't know, Gamani, if I'm closing tonight, but and Bayers is welcome, or others are welcome to say a few other things, but I want to thank the SARS team for putting this on this evening. It's been done very well. Yes, we haven't got to everything, but we will. To everybody who's joined, and there's been up to close to 300 and something people online, with a number more on YouTube. We want to thank you for taking time out on an important issue. And we will look forward to further engagements as we roll out the pilot at King Shaka and as we journey to all the ports of entry across the country. We do believe this will provide an important step in terms of protecting our sovereignty in our country. And that is one of the big reasons we are doing it. If one just listens to the media and if one understands the whole FATF and other related processes that are underway. But with that, I'm going to close from my side. I don't know, Bayes, if you want to say anything further, but my special thanks to all of the team, and we do look forward to engaging further in this regard. Thank you.
Thank you. Bayes, you will make your last remark, and after you will hand over to the program director.
Yeah, no, thank you. You know, I mean, I'm just going to kind of waste time in repeating what Mark said, but I do want to, from my own perspective, thank every contribution. You know, when you started kind of punching all the questions in, I thought, okay, all right, we're going to share this and we're going to respond to you. And it just got completely out of control and I gave up. So I'm sure that the team will get back to you after this and respond to every single question. And we really appreciate every single input that you've given, and we'll take that into account as we go forward. So thanks a lot, and back to the program director.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mogeri, and the esteemed panelists for the information and clarity that you shared. And as my principals have stated, a special thank you to the viewers for those robust and pertinent questions. I trust that the information shared creates great excitement amongst stakeholders, as it does with us at SARS. You know, as Mr. Theron had stated earlier, travel and holidays should be relaxed with the least amount of stress, and the envisaged benefits will definitely assist in that regard. Also, to the viewers, you have received a great deal of information, and if any of you need a recap of what was shared tonight, please note that a recording of the webinar will be available on the YouTube channel to view at your leisure. Also, I mentioned earlier that we have a survey that will come up at the end of the session that we would like for you to participate in. As I stated earlier, we really value your opinion and suggestions, and we consider it vital in continuous improvement for webinars that are to come in the future. I also want to make special mention of the mailbox again for any questions, further engagement on the topic. It is travellerescalations@sars.gov.za, and we look forward to hearing from you with whatever you might have to say on this new system that's being launched at SARS. At this point, I would like to call upon Dr. Raboni, the head of the Taxpayer and Trader Education at SARS, to share her thoughts and closing remarks. From my side, thank you and good evening. Over to you, Dr. Raboni.
Thank you, Program Director Amina. Thank you for a job well done in steering this traveler plane. What a smooth ride. As I listen to all the speakers, I think you would agree with me that clarity and certainty to you, our esteemed traveler, was provided to all questions you might have to ensure simplicity to your experience. This too enhances partnership with yourselves, and we are committed to making this collaboration seamless to get ready for the future when we fully go live in 2024 and beyond. The success of this system will not be possible without your valued inputs to this pilot project, as I already had some of our viewers suggesting addition of spots, spectators, fans, information, technology, WhatsApp, etc. This is true co-creation. We acknowledge that this is not a sprint, but a marathon that we will run together to ensure seamless trade facilitation throughout the value chain by reducing the time and cost of doing business with yourselves. I want to acknowledge and thank the following people. Firstly, can I say thanks to our chiefs in the room, Mr. Mark and Bears, for a sterling contextualization of this process. And I also like to thank our speakers, the dynamic duo, Mr. Sintumula and his team, for the good presentation. We are really thankful as well to you and your team. I also like to thank all the panelists for such a sterling job in answering all the questions, and for agreeing to participate on this platform. Our moderator, you really made it interactive. I thank you for that. Thirdly, to you, our stakeholders who participated in this webinar, we thank you for being here, and I hope we have met all your expectations. Their recording will be made available on our SARS TV, and please keep giving us feedback because we love to co-create with you. And on behalf of all of us from SARS, thank you for showing up today, and have a good evening, happy traveling, and goodbye.
Fellow South Africans, I'm addressing you.
All your years of paying tax, you still wonder, why does it matter?
It is true that we are facing a grave emergency.
It matters now more than ever. It matters to those who are exposed to harm to keep us away from it. The ones that leave behind all that they love. Your tax matters to them. Those who spend endless hours standing on their feet to care for others. It matters to those who are always at the heart of any crisis and our future generations. It matters to those who put so much love into giving selflessly to each and every family living on the breadline. It matters to all of us. To all taxpayers, pay your fair share. Do it for your nation. Your tax matters.